Welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I am your host, Rafi Pinsky. And as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, leave your comments. For all of your real estate needs in South Florida, make sure to check out my link in bio for my weekly real estate newsletter. So if you're looking to stay up to date with everything going on in the South Florida market, you know who to call, get in contact with me, and I would love to help you. Without further ado, we have an Iranian who is supportive of the state of Israel. It's there's a lot of them that are, but it's hard to really kind of sort out who's who. And when I saw that he follows some very well-known pro-Israel accounts, some pro-Israel pages, I wanted to reach out to him. He looked like an interesting person to speak to. So this week we have Ravin Khorshid, who is an Iranian. He's Zoroastrian. So for whoever doesn't know what that is actually one of the oldest, if not the oldest, monotheistic religion. It may predate Judaism. I have to look at it. I have to see. You might know better than I do.
Well, different sources say different things. ChatGPT says it's Zoroastrianism. Some books say it's Judaism, but we're definitely both of us are the oldest ones.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Ravin, I hear you make a mean ghormeh sabzi, is what
No,
they say.
I wish I did. Unfortunately, my mom can make a mean warm sabzi. I would cap if I say that I would do as well. So I don't.
All right, let's
I
just
know
say
how to
let's
eat
just
it though.
let's just say you do. Let's just say you do. I don't know if you're married or not, but hopefully, if you aren't, your future wife, if she is Iranian, she'll make you a good gourmet sabzi, almost as good as your mom's.
Well, as
So
long as she has to be Iranian or Judean, bro. It's either one because the rest of the world is just against us. So it's the only options we have.
yeah, right, yeah. Not every, you know what though? Not everybody. I have a little more positivity, but it's a tough world out there, man.
Yeah, it is.
So we have a lot to cover, man. I like having discussions with people like yourself. Just a quick background. You're a project manager. Are you comfortable with me mentioning where you're based, or you prefer not to talk about it?
I am based in Holland. Let's keep it at
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I do projects for large corporations or the government. Um, and basically my expertise is building contact centers, sales, retention, customer service, that kind of stuff. And it's usually for startup or scale up businesses or businesses that just want to transition into something new.
Got it. Okay. That's impressive. That's awesome. Fantastic. So you freelance, you primarily work from home, I take it, or do you work in an office?
No, we work at the office because it's usually hands on. You always manage some teams as well, so you have to be hands on. But nowadays you can work hybrid. That's fun. So sometimes you get to stay at home. Yeah.
That's good. That's nice. At least you get to do it some of the time. All right. So right into the Israel, Iran, Middle East politics discussion. You being Zoroastrian, not being a Muslim, not being a Christian, not being Jewish, my understanding, and I don't know a lot about Zoroastrianism and people from that background, from that faith, what have they experienced by the hands of Islam? Because I know things weren't always so easy. I understand that
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Um, I am Zoroastrian. I don't practice like going to the temple or praying or something, but like that. But basically, Iran was Zoroastrian until the 6th century, and then the Abbasid Caliphate came into the region basically and tried to conquer as many as countries in the Middle East, basically. So and they converted everyone to Islam, and that was by force. That was not by choice. So with the by wielding the sword, they basically um, made sure that everyone converted to Islam, and they did so by enslaving women. The Abbasid Caliphate basically enslaved women. They took, they killed people. But they also, which is very important, they tried to erase Persian culture by. Let me give you an example. Like I myself have a French bulldog. that's my guy. But in Persian culture, it's very normal to have dogs as not even pets, but as members as the family because we believe they're sacred. So when the Muslims came in, they actually tried to annihilate all the dogs in that we had. One of our strengths, we had cavalry, and Persian cavalry was very strong. I just did a post on it. The Sasanians, which were the Sasanian dynasty, fought the Abbasid Caliphate. They basically were great horse riders, so they prohibited horse riding, and because basically anything that was a threat to Islam, they prohibited. So that's our first encounter with Islam historically.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So you were able to fend them off for a while. You had strong soldiers who rode horses, but you
I
weren't, I
mean,
guess.
we won against the Romans many times. We fought off the Greek, but except for Alexander the Great, basically the Persian Empire, the sun never set in the Persian Empire. That was so huge. So for thousands of years, we dominated the area. And we even liberated the Jewish people from Babylon, I think,
Hmm.
Cyrus the Great. So yeah, but everything comes to an end eventually. So even the Persian Empire, but the culture is still after you can't just wipe out 2,500, 3,000 or a culture that has existed for 7,000 years, from the time that we were nomads to the time that we had this great civilization. So it's impossible to wipe that out, and even traditions that we still have are maintained, even though they're prohibited by the regime. So they haven't been able to Islamify us even now.
Okay, interesting. But all I mean, you're saying they haven't been able to Islamify the Zoroastrians, is what you mean to an extent.
No, they haven't been able to Islamify Iran because the common misconception that people have is that Iranians are Muslim. We're not. Most Iranians are not Muslim or are not practicing Islam. If you look at the country as a whole, only 10% support the regime, which are fanatical Islamists. The rest of the country is suffering among them because in Iran, we have Christians, we have Baha'i, we used to have Jewish people. There's only a small community left, and we have a large amount of Zoroastrians, and the people have adopted some aspects of Islamic culture, but no one, like 80% of Iranians, maybe even 90%, are not practicing Islam. We just have some habits or words that we've adopted from them, but
Well,
that's the common
that's a
perception.
really crazy take. I know I that sounds great. It's just no one no most Jews would be shocked to hear you say that. Because when Jews think of Iran, we know
Yeah.
that we didn't know, but after October 7th, we've been listening to a lot of Iranians speak, letting us know that there are a lot of Iranians in support of Israel. But prior to that, we didn't think that at all. We thought like everyone was
Well,
Muslim or
I've
most of
learned a lot of stuff. Sorry to interrupt you about Jewish people as well. Most Ashkenazi Jews don't know that, but the Sephardic ones do, because actually, because of the fact that Cyrus the Great liberated the Jews, almost 250,000 Iranian Jews fled Iran when the Shah was overtaken by the Islamic Republic. So
hmm
almost like this is like a fact. Almost 1 million to 2 million Jews have Persian DNA in
hmm
themselves, and there are like a huge community of Persian Jewish people, like Iranian Jews, in America, like in LA, in
Oh,
New York.
humongous. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of Persian Jewish friends. I grew up with a lot of Persian Jewish friends.
So
Um,
how could we hate ourselves? Like if I would
right,
hate a Jewish Iranian person, that would basically mean that I'm hating my own people. That's crazy.
for sure. Right. There's there's a lot in California. There's a lot in New York. There's an area called Great Neck that has a ton. There's a lot in Israel. And then there's other groups that are also Persian. For example, the Uzbeki Jews, who we call Bukharian Jews. You can do some research on them. It sounds like you know who they are. Best barbers in the game. They give the best cuts. If you ever need a haircut and you're in the United States, make sure your barber's behind. No, but they're very successful. But all the Jews that are doing different. We all do different things.
They'll have
We
to do
work
my
together.
beard, brother, because there's not much hair left.
There's not too much on the top. Even just for the beard, they'll give you the best beard. So, so the Bukharian Jews initially came from ancient Persia, old Persia. So they're really also Iranian. And then you have the what are called the Gorsky Jews or the Kafkazi Jews, who are from primarily Azerbaijan, also parts of Dagestan, maybe. So they're also they're all Persian. So you have the actual Jews from Iran, and then you have the others that kind of fled to the mountains. I forget when, I forget what the cause was, but there's a very interesting history there.
Without turning this into a whole history lesson, that whole
Sure.
area was Persia, like Iraq,
Right.
Afghanistan, all those countries were Persia before Turkey
Hmm.
even existed. Turkey
Right.
didn't exist 3,000 years ago. Turkey
Right.
exists because the Mughals, basically, the offspring of the Mughals that conquered those areas. That's where Turkey and the Ottoman Empire came from. So
Hmm.
there's no the when the Jews and the Persians existed, the Turks didn't even exist.
Right.
It's an unpopular opinion. It's not an opinion. It's a historical fact. And but Turkish people usually don't like to hear that because they even claim parts of Persian culture, like a Persian poet that died in Turkey. A lot of Turks say that he's Turkish, but if you uh, pull up the books that he wrote, it's not even in Persian language. It's not even in Turkish language because Turkish language in itself didn't exist then. It's in Persian.
That's so interesting. Okay, so now going into Israel, were you well read and well studied on Israel and its history? We were talking about the recent state of Israel. Were you well studied before October 7th, or did you really start to do your research?
No, well, I've learned a lot more since then because I didn't know about all the pogroms and I didn't know about a lot of the wars that happened between Palestinians and because there's a lot of them.
Hmm.
I just knew that the Jews are my brothers. That's it. So I wasn't really well read on the history um, of the state of Israel in itself. Like I'm more acquainted with the older history.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, I mean, where do you stand on it? I mean, I guess the good question to ask you is, there's a lot of debate. Many people around the world are supporting the quote unquote Palestinians. They are very much against Israel. They believe that the Gaza war is, genocide. They don't really believe that we have a right to fight the war. Where do you stand on that? What's your take?
Well, it's not a lot of people that are not Jewish like to say this, but I'm a Zionist, bro. I believe that the Jews should have their own state and country. So that's the shortest answer that I can give. Uh, and it's also not a safe one to give nowadays. So, but I don't
Right.
care because I do believe that.
Right. So what should be? I mean, what do you? I have answers personally, but I'm just curious to hear, where you think is like, you have two people that are fighting over a piece of land. It's really very much a religious conflict.
Uh,
All sources religiously point to the Jews having inheritance of this land, but clearly the Muslim world contests that. So, what do you think has to be done to really solve this? Do you believe in Trump's plan of having the Gazans kind of, voluntarily or not voluntarily sent over? Do you believe in two states? Do you believe in one
I
state
don't
government?
know, bro. I honestly don't know. All I do know is that I think if we sit here, you can't name me one Arab country or Muslim country that is living in peace, except for maybe the United Arab Emirates. But
Hmm.
they're still liberating, giving their people liberties because until a couple of years ago, women were still not allowed to drive there. So
Right.
so yeah, that's a tough one. I'm not I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a politician, or that I'm very well acquainted with the complexity of all of the things that are going on. I do know a lot, though. I do know that as long as the Islamic Republic is in power in Iran, there will be no solution. So Trump will not be able to create peace and stability in the area as long as you have one huge entity behind all these forces, which are the Hezbollah, which are the Houthis, which are Hamas, um, funding them. Because if you look at the GDP in Palestine, it's one of the lowest in the world. So how would they get money to fund all these wars and all these terrorist attacks? Think about it. It's like waging war is not cheap. So the money for the tunnel systems, the architecture, all of that has to come from somewhere. And what we Iranians know is that that is coming from the Islamic Republic. Billions and billions of dollars are being pumped into that, into those entities, and let's just say terrorist groups. And one thing that people fail to realize is, uh, as long as that is continuing, they will just relocate the problem to some other area. So when this is something that a lot of people don't know. Yasser Arafat was one of the most awful people in the history of the Middle East, because when Jimmy Carter came into power, these are documented historical facts. The CIA helped Khomeini to overthrow the Shah, and they used Yasser Arafat to arm militant groups in Iran, and those militant groups were communists, extreme leftists, Islamists, and we call them Tudehi and Mujahideen, the MEK, the People's Mujahideen. So in 1979, the PLO, run by Yasser Arafat, they sent Palestinian terrorists to Iran. Those people armed militant groups, and what they did is they shot people in Iran and blamed it on the officers and the soldiers of the Shah, which caused the revolution. So their goal from that point on was to create a huge Islamic state, which, in order to do so, they created Hezbollah. Hezbollah was created by the Islamic Republic. Most people don't know that. It didn't just um, like Hezbollah is funded and created by the Islamic Republic. Nasrullah, he has a half Persian son walking around in Iran, and those people are using oil money and all the riches of the country in order to wage war and destabilize the Middle East.
Give me 1 second. All right, so the Iranian, I mean, you're mentioning, first of all, everything you're saying is true. Why is Iran so interested in funding all of these groups? I mean, it sounds like a redundant question, but for viewers that don't know what's going
Yeah.
on, what's their
Okay.
vested interest in pushing all of these proxies?
I don't want to be the grammar police or the semantics police, but
Mhm.
semantics are really important. So
Well,
I'm
that's
gonna
the name of
have.
my chat. That's the name of my channel, Robin.
Oh, okay, well then we should restrain from saying Iran, because Iran is not funding these groups. The Islamic Republic is.
That's
Iran is
fair enough.
suffering
Fair enough.
and held hostage by the Islamic Republic. And the reason I say that is because I am fighting for Iran, and all Iranians are suffering under the Islamic Republic. Not only do my Jewish brothers have like 63 hostages left in the tunnels, we have 90 million hostages in Iran. Um, so why they are doing this is because that is the nature of Islam. Islam wants to expand, and Islam wants to create one Islamic state, and that state preferably should be the whole world.
Right.
And if you ask any Muslim, it's their goal to convert others to Islam.
Right. 100%. They want to make the world a caliphate, an entire caliphate. Yeah.
Yes.
That's it's interesting because there were never independent states back when the Ottoman Empire, Abbasid Empire, Persian Empire, Mamluk Empire, all these different empires. There was an empire. Period. We didn't have these different countries, and their plan is to revert back to that. The challenge is they're having a really hard time getting along with themselves.
Yeah.
So before they try to conquer the West and they try to conquer Israel, they're going to have to figure out which one of these caliphates they actually want to rule. And it seems that the Sunnis and Shias can't figure it out because they're always fighting each other. But when it comes to Israel, the Sunnis, such as the Palestinians, for example, they're willing to take funding from Iran because they both have a common enemy.
Yeah. And the
I
enemy,
mean, when I say Iran, okay,
enemy.
let me be clear. The Islamic Republic. I know that that's an important distinction. I'm just the news, dude. As an
I've
American,
annoyed so many people because of that. And
they
actually,
don't differentiate. That we know this, man. We know a lot of us understand this,
I
especially
know you
Jews.
know. Yeah.
As Jews are understanding of this, but it's such common language. People, they don't differentiate. So I'm going to try to make it an effort throughout this podcast to say that because I
Appreciate you,
understand.
bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, of
appreciate
course.
you. The question was again, why is
What was the question again? Basically, what's Iran's interest in pushing these proxies to to fight it? Well, for sure to fight Israel, and they definitely have a vested interest in fighting the United States. But why is Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, why are they being propped up by Iran to fight Israel? Why is that?
well,
What Iran, the Islamic Republic? Why does the Islamic Republic want to do this?
there are multiple reasons because Rafid, like one of the reasons is their Shia ideology. Shia ideology believes that they have to wreak havoc and create mayhem on the world for their last prophet to arrive, which is Prophet Mahdi. They truly believe that even bad deeds can speed up the process of him being their Messiah and returning to Earth, basically.
Mhm.
Um, and this sounds like really weird, but even when they rape or killed infidels, they believe that they're doing a good deed. So this is just speeding up the process of them coming back. But that is like an ideology that they say to win the masses, but the masses haven't been won. At the end of the day, they need to unify to make sure that their position is not endangered. And let me just give you an example. When the protests reach a high and they think that they won't be able to maintain the protests and suppress them, they fly in Hezbollah to suppress them. Like
Really?
they've even flown in Sunni forces like Hezbollah, or some Iraqi unit to kill Iranians. So they bring in foreign troops to kill domestic like citizens. So this is something that they've done and they will continue to do. And now this is a minor example, but there are a lot of reasons. Like also like it's in their interest to destabilize um, the area because it gives them strength. For example, you know Soleimani, the IRGC commander that got
Qasem
blew up.
Soleimani. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we say we made cutlet out of him, which is a dish, which is minced meat. Uh, so one of the things is he was the commander, which was sent to all these areas to train and facilitate uh, Islamic troops, for example, to help Assad keep his power. So one of the videos that was circulating 2.5 years ago was of him um, meeting up with this guy in Syria, which is basically walking people to a mass grave and shooting them as they fall into the grave. And these are things that they've done to keep the area as full of their allies as they can. That's why they have a state in a state in Lebanon, and those are always doing what the regime wants them to do, basically. So same with Hamas. Hamas is like Hamas is IRGC. For us, it's like it would be
Right.
crazy for the only Iranians, bro, that would support Hamas are these like extreme liberal lefty people that we've all seen in the campuses.
Oh, so you have those in Iran as well?
Unfortunately, yes, that's the unholy alliance of red and black. Everything that you're
Yep.
seeing now, we saw that in 1979.
Right.
So when shit gets real, it's when communists and leftists unify with Islamists. And in the end, when the Islamists are done with the leftists, they will eliminate them from the equation as well.
100%. It's the horseshoe theory. It's really the horseshoe theory. They have I think they fetishize them. I think these liberals are I really believe this, and I saw an article on this, and I haven't been able to find it since. But I think l these woke people in any country with the colorful hair and these crazy views, communist views, I think
Three
they
cats at
are,
home,
say again?
3 cats at home, daddy issues,
Right, right.
all those things. Yeah,
I think it's, and I say, and that's, I actually, I grew up with two cats in the house, but I'm sure as hell not that kind of person. I'm much more of a dog guy, but yeah, I'm a proud, I was a cat dad for a while. My grandmother and I, we had cats growing up. We
that's
couldn't have
different though.
dogs.
That's a family cat. It's not like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yours.
No, 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 I'm
Your
not gonna have three. I sure as hell wouldn't have three on my own. No, hell no. Yeah, definitely not. I just, yeah, when it comes down to this discussion, I think, I'm not suggesting that Islam is at the end of the day, Islam is going to exist. Different religions, different beliefs are going to exist. It comes down to each each civilization having a very strong stance, and the West needs to say, listen, we don't have an issue with Muslims, but we have an issue with Islam trying to enforce its way on our civilization. If you come here and you try to enforce your way on us, you got to go. And I would say the same for the other way around. If in the Gulf states, for example, they say, listen, we welcome the people from the West. Here are the rules in place. You're welcome to do A, B, and C. You cannot do D, E, and F. If you do D, E, and F, you can't be here. And we
You
and we
can't
as
do the
Western,
ENF. They already have that system. I bet your bottom dollar if you go to Dubai and buy some land, you won't be able to build a church. I'm
right.
pretty sure they
Right.
won't allow
So
you.
they have rules like there's no PDA, you can't, kiss in public. They have their rules. And at the end of the day, they're entitled to have that rule if it's their country. So I think human beings need to respect the laws in a country. They need to abide by it. It's really not that complicated.
No,
And if you're going to try to slowly conquer country, then you shouldn't be there. It's very simple. Poland doesn't tolerate any of that nonsense. And so for me, I'm just going to say with Gaza, the Hamas rule needs to be gotten rid of. The thing after that is people like to have this politically correct conversation. It's not about Hamas. It's about the belief of the Gazans. It's about the belief of the overall Palestinian public. If they don't believe that Israel has a right to exist, they will need to leave. It's as simple as that. If you are not willing to accept Israel's existence, you don't have a place to be. You can tell me you were there for the last 1,000 years. You can tell me you're part of the Canaanites, that you have more rights to the land genetically. You can tell me all you want till you're blue in the face. Israel exists. It is a Jewish state. It has minorities. It has freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press. It is a wonderful country. 20% of the country is Arab. If you want to live in the country, you abide by the laws. Very simple. You don't like it, you don't
it's
believe
it's it's even
it's
more simple than that, Rafi.
yeah.
It's. I'll tell you why. If I live in Holland, okay,
Mhm.
south from Holland is Belgium. If a group of people, let's say Belgium Hamas, tomorrow invades Holland and kills 1,500 people or 1,200 people and rapes them, that group has to go. It has to be eliminated.
Right.
Period. Like there's like consequences to shit.
Right.
You can't just.
Right. Right.
It's that simple. Once you have someone that wants to eliminate you, you eliminate it. That's history.
It's not that complicated. But
Yeah,
I've
this
said this to many of
podcast
my
is just gonna become two dudes agreeing with each
I
other.
know, but but we didn't come on this thinking we were going to have much different opinion, if any. I had a few weird. I just want to talk to somebody who's Iranian. I think it's important.
Yeah, that is
But our
true
views are
because
probably very much the same. I have a very balls to the wall, straightforward approach on this whole thing, and the truth of the matter is I don't, I'll give the Palestinians an ethnic identity if they want to have it, if it makes them happy. There's no such thing as a Palestinian. They're Arab Muslims or they're Arab Christians. They're Semites like Jews. Not all of them. I mean, some of them came from other parts of the world, but they're a mixture of Arabs from all over the place. That's all it is. Egyptian, Jordanian, Lebanese, Syrian.
well,
Some of them
the
came from
Arabs come from the Arab Peninsula. There
exactly,
is
exactly.
no other country where Arabs originate from.
Right,
Spaniards come from Spain, and
right.
all the other countries that are speaking Spanish are speaking there because they colonized those countries.
They were conquered. No,
The
I know. I
Arabs
understand.
did
Like,
the same, and
right.
and during the Moors, they conquered South Europe. Like that's why Sicilians and Spaniards have darker features
Marker
than the
features,
people of
yes,
North.
exactly. But that's all. That's what it is. It's just funny because when the Jews reconquer their land, the world's like, you can't do that. You can't do that. But it's largely because the Jews we haven't been in a position of power for so long, meaning we held high positions in politics. We were some of us in many cases we were very successful, but we didn't rule. We didn't have rulership. And so now that the Jews actually have rulership, they actually have the ability to rule land. They have a military. Much of the world is
But
very they're
I've
not okay
seen
with that. They're not okay with that. They're not used to it because they can't
And one
subjugate
of the
us.
other problems that I see within the Jewish community that we have in Iranians as well is that there is also like a lot of, now correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not Jewish. I don't want to like say something which is
Hmm.
wrong, but I've seen a lot of Jewish people also not be unified. Like Jewish people say that are anti-Zionism or in New York, or very liberal people that uh, say they don't want Hamas to, or they want the war to end. But I don't agree with ending a war if the enemy is still alive.
Because
And
Ravin,
with enemy, I'm not saying all Palestinians should die. I'm saying Hamas should be eliminated.
right. Because the problem is it's an appeasement, it's a weakness, it's an apologist mentality. Um, it's an issue. It's actually there's a Jewish woman that lives in Israel. She was annoyed at me for saying this because she felt like I'm using divisive language. I'm using language that divides, and I think it's the opposite. Unfortunately, it's a predominantly Ashkenazi mindset where, you know, in times of Europe, we learn to keep things very quiet. We learn to kind of always try to stay under the radar and not make waves and not fight back. And that mentality, unfortunately, stuck with a lot of the Ashkenazi population. There are many, many, many stories of very tough Ashkenazim, and even in Israel, many of the top the soldiers in the top units. It's Israel is very different. You have many of those liberals in Israel, but in places like the United States, predominantly the Jews you're talking about tend to come from Ashkenazi background, and it has a lot to do with being influenced by European mindset. It's just kind of how things ended up.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of them still believe that if we apologize and we appease, if we get on our knees and ask for forgiveness, the enemy will love us. And in the Middle East, it's very much the opposite. If you show weakness, they trample over you. They absolutely run over you. And we saw that on October 7th because that strip the Israeli towns along Gaza's border had some of the most liberal Israelis in the country. Many of them helped the Gazans. They provided them with work, with opportunities. They took them to Israeli hospitals. They did a lot to help them. And what did those Gazans do? They gathered intelligence. They would go and even sometimes have dinner with these Israeli families. And in the end, they slaughtered them all. So most Jews, I would say, are quite connected. We're quite unified for the most part. But Jews also are we were always people that challenged the status quo. We were always people that were pioneering something, whether it was a way of governing a country, or it was freeing the slaves, or all these different things. We're always questioning things. There's a saying, two Jews, three opinions. So we always have our differing opinions. The good part is we're not chopping each other's heads off like in the Muslim world. It's a little bit different. We might have our disagreements, but we're not
Yeah.
slaughtering each other.
In
But
Iranians, it's a little bit different. The root cause of the of, of, of people not being completely unified, or not at all at some point, is
Mhm.
because the left spectrum of Iranians, they love their ideology more than their country, and this is one of the huge themes that I have on Raw So Fresh, is that you should always be a patriot over uh, being loyal to your ideology, because your
Mhm.
ideology is an ideology by definition is always black or white,
Right.
because it either fits in your ideology or it doesn't. If you're
Mhm.
liberal, you're against some things by default, and I don't believe in that. There's some things that I'm liberal about, and there are some things that I'm conservative about. And
Mhm.
and every time a situation occurs, I prefer to assess the situation and pick what's best for my country and my people. So I don't believe in that black and white ideology. I believe in patriotism and loving your country.
It makes perfect sense. I couldn't agree more. With Israel, it's very complex. With Israel, it's a very complex conflict. It's different than really any other conflict because it really is a religious conflict. It's not a
Yeah.
land dispute like everyone likes to claim. Many Arabs have come out and said it in speeches. We know this. We know this. And
It's
if you
not
don't
only
understand,
religious. The Jewish identity has always been tried to be erased from history.
right,
Uh, so not even the religion, just Jewish people have always, there's always been a war on Jewish people,
right,
which is crazy.
yeah,
So if you don't acknowledge that, you can always pretend to be the victim, but in reality, it's the other way around. Muslims are not victims. North Africa is not indigenous to Islam and Arab people, but
right,
Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, those are colonized countries.
right. 100%. Yeah, none of them were Arabs prior to the Arab conquest. 100%. Nor
No
nor
way.
were they Muslim. Yeah, it's true. Just like Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco were colonized by the French. It's a similar idea. So my thoughts, Ravine, on ultimately is that if the Gazans don't accept Gaza, if they don't accept it, okay, you know what? We don't agree to it. We believe that the whole thing is Palestine, but we're tired of throwing our kids into the furnace, into the flames of despair, of nothingness. We don't want to do this anymore. We'll stay. I believe that Israel is taking a risk by trusting that. And I also believe that Israel should completely control Gaza. Here's my take. If the Gazans want to actually stay there, Israel, regardless, should have full control, should annex the entire Gaza Strip. Regardless of that, this is what they should do. Not America. America doesn't have it, doesn't should not be the ones to control it. I believe Israel should control it. It's going to require more, money and all that other jazz. And if the Gazans accept it, then they can stay there. If they continue to fight us, if they're constantly attacking the soldiers, if they're constantly shooting rockets and continuing attacks, then they're going to have to be kicked out. It's as simple as that.
I think you got the image got stuck again, so let's just wait till it comes back. Oh yeah, you're
Okay.
back, bro.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me finish the point I had before. What I was saying was is if the Gazans can whether they like it or not can come to terms with the fact that this is a Jewish state, and now that they waged a war and lost, they're gonna have to. There's no Hamas, there's no Islamic Jihad. The Israeli army and the Israeli government rules that piece of land. Maybe we'll put some Israeli settlements in there because in the West Bank with the Israeli settlements, it prevents them from shooting rockets and doing those other things. So if Israel decides to do that, so be it. And if they don't like it, then they're going to have to leave. And if they don't want to leave voluntarily, then they're going to need to be expelled. This is just, it's, you don't get to fight a conflict for 76 years, continue to lose with the goal of eradicating the Jewish state and also killing as many Jews as possible, not being willing to share it. After 76 years of loss, after military loss, continuing to try to accomplish the same goal and not getting anywhere, you forfeit the land. You don't get to make these decisions anymore. And so the real issue is that as the Jewish state, as Jews as a collective, as the Israeli government, no matter who we had as prime minister, we're not willing to make these tough decisions because we're afraid of international condemnation. We're afraid of the hate that comes with it, and it's gonna come. We're gonna get condemned as we have. We're gonna have more resolutions passed against us, probably. It comes at a cost. But it's to me, it's better than dealing with a constant violent enemy
Well, the
right there
alternative
underneath.
is that you that your people live the way my people live in Iran as hostages.
Right.
That's the alternative. But I still believe that even if you do that and you take over the whole Gaza Strip and everything that's Palestine now, you'll just have relocated your enemies, which are going to still be um, organized and unified by the Islamic Republic and funded,
Well,
and
not if
they'll just
not as
attack you
easily.
from Lebanon or wherever they go.
But yeah, but that's why I don't agree with sending 1 million of them to Egypt, for example. The smarter move is to send 30,000 to Chile, 70,000 to in Indonesia, 40,000 to Pakistan. Different smaller numbers of them. It will be a lot
Just
harder
fuck
and
up the whole world. You just want to fuck up the whole world.
no, I mean the truth is, Ravine, is back in the day, let's be frank, back in the day, what happens when you have two groups like this? One group absolutely annihilates the other, and the game is over. Nowadays, we live in 2025.
Yeah.
Most Jews, like me included, I don't want to push a button and just slaughter
But
everybody. I don't
but
want to do that.
Rafi, it's
Yeah.
much more complicated than that. Look at the Western societies. The whole world is going down the drain, like literally.
They
Uh,
shouldn't go to the West. First of all, I'm not necessarily Chile
no,
happens
but
to have
but
one of the
but
biggest.
I mean that's not gonna solve it. You're still gonna have the bigger problem, which is extremist Islam. Islamists are still everywhere. So
Mhm.
you're gonna have to find a solution in order to wake up people from this actual danger, which is not Islamophobia, because a phobia is an irrational fear. This is an
Right.
irrational fear. Like we've seen terrorist attacks. We act like it didn't happen, but just 10 years ago, uh, armed terrorists shot up Paris, like
Right.
literally. So I think some it's gonna get worse before it gets better. Not just for Israel, but for the whole world. For
So what do
Israel,
you suggest?
Israel not probably because they could defend themselves, but the rest of the world is gonna get worse before it gets better.
So what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting Israel does right now? I mean, I'm asking you a very tough question, a question that
Right,
might,
Israel has to eliminate their enemies. Period. Like they have to eliminate Hezbollah. They have to eliminate.
right, but that's okay, but that's kind of let's kind of dig into that a little deeper because Hamas is not just, oh, there's 20,000 Hamas members. As soon as we murder them all, the fight is over. There are many willing to take the place of the dead soldiers.
Oh yeah,
It's it's
definitely.
it's a
I
it's a
don't know,
deep
bro. I
seated.
like honestly, I don't know if you can send like 30,000 of them to Chile. I don't know if that's realistic. Is Chile gonna accept them? Like,
Well,
for
Chile
honest,
has one of the biggest populations of Palestinians.
I think in all sincerity, if you take out the head of the snake, which is the Islamic Republic,
Hmm.
all this will. Uh, I don't think they'll be able to fight the way they have, and they won't be able to attack the way they have. I
That's
think you.
definitely true. No, that's definitely true, but I don't think it'll stop. I think it'll
So,
be much harder for them.
all of this to an Iranian sounds like you have this huge gushing wound that needs stitches, but you're just putting band-aids on it.
Right, right, right.
That's how
Yeah, I know,
Iranians see it.
no, you're 100% right. Iran is not Iran. The Islamic Republic is definitely the issue. Um,
So,
but then
at
in our
at the
mind,
end of the day, Israel might be safer, but the whole world is still going to shit. And Jewish
right.
people don't only live in Israel. They live
You're
all
right. You're right.
everywhere.
You're right.
They're just gonna be like we've seen what happened in Amsterdam after the
Mhm.
I don't know within the football club's name, but that doesn't create safety for Jewish people. Maybe it does in Israel, but the problem still exists. So
Right.
it's
Right.
it's much bigger than that, and I think even in London, they have the Islamic Republic funds protests there. They're paying people to go create protests against Israel in the UK. So
Hmm.
they are waging a huge war on the internet, like social media. They have these bot farms which promote all pro-Palestine posts. Look at one of my posts that has gone viral. I have a good bunch of them. If you go into the comments and you take screenshots and ask ChatGPT what are these people saying, I'll bet your bottom dollar like the majority is hate, and it's not Iranians hating in Persian. It's these armies of cyber farms which are just made. It's basically I imagine it's like a bunch of people in their underwear writing hate comments and or
Hmm.
just bots or AI, whatever it is they're using. So,
Hmm.
so the war is not just in Israel. The war is going on in the West. It's in on this. It's on social media. It's on campuses. It's in the universities. So we have the problem is huge. I think it's really bad. Yeah, not trying to like spread
No,
fear, but
no, your points are valid, man. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. I don't have all the answers, but um, or just send them all to Saudi Arabia because I guarantee you the Saudi Arabians
that's
won't
where they
tolerate.
come from. That's
No, I
where
know
they
that's where they
actually.
come from anyway. The Saudi dude, the thing is, the Saudis will just send them all the Saudis will give them all the death penalty if they fuck around. So that's it's
Yeah, they didn't even allow. I've saw everyone's seen this video of a woman in Mecca at the queue. I think it's Kabbalah. I don't know. People walk around it like when they go to Hajj. This
the
woman just
Kaaba, the
took out
Kaaba. Yeah.
the Kaaba. They took. That's how much I know about Islam. They one of the
Yeah.
one Palestinian lady or one Arab lady just took out the Palestinian flag. She was arrested immediately.
Hmm.
So yeah, you can't fuck around with pro Palestine protests there, or in any other or Arab country. They're not gonna have that.
It's
Dude.
so isn't it funny how that works, by the way?
Except for
In the
Iran, and
West,
you know
in the
what's
West,
crazy? Okay, I don't want to use a lot of profanity, but in
you
Iran,
can go ahead.
like in every football match, if they put up the Palestinian flag, which they have done sometimes, the whole crowd chants "Stick the Palestinian flag up your ass."
Yeah, I saw that.
Like in Persian, it's "Parcham Filistino bokon to kunet." Like this is you have protests,
Yeah, it's
people
crazy.
chanting "Na Gaza, na Lebanon, Janam Fadai Iran," which means not Israel, not Palestine, not Gaza, not Lebanon. My life for Iran. So
Hmm.
basically, people are saying, fuck all those things. We don't want that.
Right.
Yeah, that's the irony.
Let's see what happens, man. I hope I could travel to Iran soon. I would love to.
Yeah, and
So,
I think we've seen the images of the B-52 or the B-2 bombers going to the Middle East, and what people that's going viral right now. So there's people say, Trump sent B-2 and B-52 bombers, I think, to the Middle East, and people are cheering the fact that they're gonna bomb the nuclear plants.
mhm.
But motherfucking Obama was the one that struck a nuclear deal with these fucks.
Right.
Which is just makes me so angry. And they act like if you bomb a nuclear plant, then that's a good thing. No, because by that time you'll have a nuclear cloud and you just have
Right.
radioactive ground in Iran, and my people are going to suffer. But it's
Right.
because of all these decades of misguiding America's politics into
Right.
becoming basically a friend to the Islamic Republic.
Right. Yeah, 100%. But then, and unfortunately, there's also vested interest in that. There's also, unfortunately, people who are doing it on purpose, knowing what it's doing. They want money. They want to continue conflict. Just greedy
Of
people
course,
who,
because they're still buying oil. The
right,
Islamic Republic is selling oil to Saudi Arabia. They're mixing it with their own oils and artificially keeping oil prices down. So that benefits the West. We have the fourth largest natural resources deposit in Iran, which is iron, cobalt, even antimonium. It's what Wolverine skeleton is made of in the
okay,
cartoons. Like, so we have saffron, we have caviar in the Casp in we have everything. So obviously you would want to have a trading partner, even though there are sanctions, those goods are still being traded. Germany had 1 billion euros in commerce with Iran on the record, and we don't know what's not on record. All the shotgun shells and the shotguns that they used to shoot protesters in protests were sold by Italian and French companies. So obviously they didn't sell it directly to Iran, but we end up seeing German and French and Italian products being used against Iranians.
right. No, that's the problem with greed, man. It's tough because you have two countries fighting each other, but they're also doing business with each other at the same time.
Definitely, yes.
It's very difficult. What can I tell you, man? We're just simple men trying to figure these serious conflicts out. Uh, I mean, I don't want the world to have to deal with the problems that the Gazans bring. I do think, however, even though some Gazans will try to continue to bring the fight to Israel, I think most of them, yeah, they might do some protests, but a lot of them eventually they'll see the money, then the opportunity that these countries have. The majority of them will be like, fuck it, whatever. Like they'll maybe support it, they'll support Palestine, so to speak. But many of the ones in New York, for example, yes, they're problematic, but they once you
It's
give
all
it once
selective outrage, bro. It's all selective outrage. We have a fucking Venezuela going to shit for a couple of decades now.
right.
We've had civil war in Bolivia decades ago. We have the Republic of Congo completely
Well, it's not
killing.
it's selective outrage very specific to the Jews. It's the no
Yeah,
Jews, no news situation.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're
Exactly,
saying.
and it's also I said this in a past podcast with Mansoor. I was on Mansoor's podcast, and that combined with the age of instant gratification, like everything is at your disposal, and you're living in luxury, so you don't have a struggle, so you have to adopt a struggle, and you just adopt this crazy thing that the worst thing you can
You got to
adopt.
find something to bitch about. You got to find something to bitch about. Let's do brunch and protest. Let's do brunch and riot. Yeah, it sounds great. I love that. Let's do that. Yeah. Mimosas and march. Like a mimosa march.
Yeah, let's yell Intifada. These
That's
people are
that's just what
crazy.
they do, man. And then they're turned. Yeah, I'm telling you, man. And they're also turned on by it too. They're just turned on by these crazy guys with guns yelling and screaming. They like it. So it is what it is. I'm telling you, they're turned on by it. They love it. Yeah. Okay. Well, Ravine, I think this was quite an episode. We covered a lot of ground. If there's anything
Definitely.
else you do want to mention, obviously you can plug in any business websites, do any kind of
I have a
market.
message for all Iranians, and I've said this in one of my posts that did very well. And I'm saying this for my Jewish brothers and sisters. I'm saying most Iranians support Israel. To those select few that don't, I don't know if I can say this. You're absolutely retarded because Jewish people are Iranians and Iranians are Jewish people. So if you don't know your history, you're gonna end up destroying the mirror. And let's not do that. Let's just support our Jewish brothers and sisters. And let's remember to know that the Islamic Republic is a cancer occupying Iran, and it's the head of the snake. So let's just cut that head off. Yeah, let's do that.
I want to see you and Eunice Sadagiani in Capes. You know who Eunice is from England?
Um, no, I'm a little weird. I just try to keep in my cocoon. It's a miracle that I met
You gotta
Nancy.
get to know Eunice, man. You're missing out. He was on my show, I think, twice already. He's an English.
Oh yeah, I know Eunice. Yes, yes, yes. No, I do
Got the
know him.
the
He's
Persian
Persian.
prince,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
got the
yeah.
hair and
No, no, I've talked. We have talked to each other. My quarter just went off the stairs. No, no, I know Eunice. Yeah, 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 definitely.
yeah, yeah, great dude. So you guys, you remind when you speak, you remind me of him. It's great.
It's just basically all Iranians. They think the same thing.
Yeah,
That for sure. Uh, Only difference is my page. That is the last thing that I'm going to say. Follow Raw So Fresh on Instagram. My page is unfiltered, which is the raw. And yeah, my page caters more to Iranians, and his page is more like caters more to the West,
right.
basically. Yeah.
That's a good way of looking at it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Of course, make sure to subscribe, like, share, leave your comments. Follow me at Rafi the Realtor. Follow me, of course. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure to subscribe. Follow Ravin at Roz of Fresh
Raw So
on
Fresh, RAWSO Fresh.
yes, and
Yeah.
I'll add the link in the description. So
Thank
make
you
sure to
for
follow
having
both of
me.
us. Absolutely. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to let me know. Make sure to leave a comment and say, "Hey, we want to see more of these Iranians on the show," and we'll be happy to make it happen. Until next time, peace. And that's a wrap, man.